Welcome to the Wellness on Purpose podcast, your go-to space for honest conversations, modern health insights, and realistic wellness strategies designed to move you forward on your journey to intentional well-being, not just for today, but for future generations. I'm your host, Marissa Watkin, and I'm so excited to welcome you into a brand new season of the podcast. Through my work in the wellness industry and alongside the incredible community at Joanne's Place Health Foods, proudly serving Peterborough and Lindsay, Ontario, I've seen firsthand that true wellness isn't about chasing perfection or the latest quick fix. It's about education, empowerment, and making informed choices that support your life in a sustainable way. This season, each episode, we will dive into meaningful conversations with industry experts, practitioners, and innovative brand leaders shaping the ever-evolving landscapes of the health and wellness industry. Together, we explore emerging trends, challenge outdated ideas, and uncover practical, science-informed tools you can actually apply to your everyday life. Expect thoughtful dialogue, fresh perspectives, and approachable guidance on everything from gut health and hormones to inflammation, mental resilience, osteoporosis, longevity, liver care, and habits that truly help us feel well, physically, mentally, and emotionally. Whether you're just beginning your wellness journey or looking into deepening it with intention, you are in the right place. This is the Wellness on Purpose podcast. Let's grow, learn, and live well on purpose together now and for future generations. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Wellness on Purpose podcast. Today, we are going to be talking about a health concern that affects millions of people, yet it is often misunderstood, and that is osteoarthritis. From joint pain and inflammation to mobility, aging, and recovery, we'll unpack what's really happening inside the body and how we can better support our joints at every stage of life. I am joined today by Jason Watkins from Purica, which is a Canadian wellness brand known for its evidence-informed approach to natural health and its expertise in adaptogenic mushroom formulations designed to support immune function, inflammation, balance, and recovery for both people and pets. Together, we will explore the science of osteoarthritis, the role of inflammation and cellular repair, and how recovery-focused support can help people and our pets move and feel better every day. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Jason back onto the podcast today. Hello, Jason. Welcome back to the Wellness on Purpose podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm doing very good in spite of the thick fog here in BC, but everything's great.
Good.
How about you?
Good. I'm so happy to hear that. Also great. In Ontario, it's very snowy, cold. So all I can say, I think for both of us is we're looking forward to a refreshing spring, the flowers blooming, sun shining again. So we are, a few more weeks and we will be there.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing. Well, for our listeners, we have had Jason on the podcast multiple times to talk about multiple different conversations and topics in the health and wellness space. And I know from our feedback in store and our listeners, you are one of our favorite guests. Everybody is just so tuned into what you have to say. So I'm so excited to have you back on today to talk about osteoarthritis. In Joanne's Place, we do have a more senior community, and I would say we have somebody at least every couple hours during each day come in asking about support for osteoarthritis and inflammation as a whole. So I really wanted to take some time to talk to you about both of those today and to give some insights into our listeners on how we can better support them as they are navigating these health concerns. So let's start right at the basics. I would love to know, when we talk about osteoarthritis, and that's us, that's doctors, that's social media, that's marketing, what's actually happening here with joint health? Is this something that we can go a little bit deeper but simplified for our listeners to understand?
Yeah, so then you always hear about arthritis and all these technical words that are used in medicine today. Arthritis just means joint inflammation, and there's so many different types of joint inflammation and so many different reasons that it's happened. But I think if you get down to a simple one, osteoarthritis is typically related to age-related degeneration of joints, or in athletics, or if you've injured yourself and your body's compensating. And it's typically the breakdown of cartilage is what people think of. But also there's a whole bunch of other elements in the joint capsule that are breaking down. The thing about cartilage, as you know, is that The cartilage and some connective tissues, ligaments, tendons, things like that, when you get injured, soft tissue injuries, they don't have the greatest blood supply, but bone does. And bone can build really quickly, whereas cartilage cannot. So really, when you damage your cartilage or it's breaking down, the bone can sometimes start to grow outwardly to try to compensate for that joint. And when that happens, you have a whole bunch of other things that start with limited flexibility, mobility. That happens with age, same as with injury. Or your body's compensated, so you're off a little bit. Say if it's a back issue, you're off, and then you always have to deal with the muscle irregularities and go to chiropractors and massage therapists and physio. That's basically the bone is growing fast, trying to compensate for the loss of cartilage. So that inflammatory mechanism, that if you just wanted to go that simple, that inflammatory mechanism is happening. Your body's trying the best it can to compensate. And a lot of how it compensates has to do with your lifestyle, your diet, your mobility, all come into play as your body's adjusting and how well it does at adjusting.
Briefly touched on there that, osteoarthritis is something that's happening as we age, but you also mentioned it can be injury, athletes, other issues occurring. So when other people are experiencing that joint pain much earlier in life, is there a reason that that's happening to a younger generation?
Yeah, so I think one, like we talked on earlier, any athlete, I was an athlete, injured my back twice, went over a cliff once, went over the goalie. I was defense, didn't know he was down, flipped over the goalie. Turns out the net was also out and the spike was still on the net, and I was impaled on the spike, and I'd already gone off a 2-story cliff when I was younger. So those kind of things are obvious, right? Then your body compensates. Then you can be tilted a little bit to the right or left. Then you got to deal with all that. And there's ways, by the way, to shift that. It just takes time. The other thing I see now, though, I think that's huge, is we don't even want to get into diet and all the additives and everything that are added that are accumulating, and especially the forever chemicals and plastics. That's a massive thing that disrupts your hormones, your weight, your overall hormone, the ability to build muscle, digestive system. But the other thing is there's a lack of motion. And I think motion is absolutely critical. And instead, I'm just speaking to the converted here because I think a lot of people know this, but you're sitting on your desk or your chair, whether it be pleasure or business, and you're bent forward and you're using your typing. So there's repetitive motion of, say, your fingers, and also there's an arching of the back, and that affects everything else in your body. And then there's a lack of motion. And I was just talking with my wife Anna the other day, talking about when we were young, so back in the 70s when we were in PE, physical education, gymnastics, the teachers really took you to another level. Like the running and everything was pretty intense, and it got you in good shape. And now that's kind of like, everybody knows it. It's pushed aside. What does that do? It's not just about physical fitness or saying, you know what, some kids just can't run, all that kind of thing. Okay, but if you do that to the whole generation, motion is what gets rid of all of the toxins that are accumulating through your lymphatic system. And the lymphatic system, which is kind of like if you go through customs in the airport and you have that second line that they pull people out that looks suspicious, and then if you're okay, you put them back in. Lymphatic system's running alongside your bloodstream, your blood vessels, as a secondary system. It helps to get rid of toxins and threatening compounds. It requires movement as a pump. The blood vessels have the heart to pump, and the lymphatic system has movement. If we're just sitting all day in these arched positions, not a natural flow, then everything starts building up. And people say, well, you know what? It's degenerative arthritis. It's not genetic, or it's not coming out of the thing. And so what does stress or lack of movement or anything have to do with it? And it does, because anytime you get toxins accumulating, they're supposed to be drained out of your system. Any area where you have lowered circulation, which is every area you've been injured, right? Every area you have pain or been injured through your life, soft tissue, your bones, everything, there's a lack of circulation, like a beaver dam. So everything starts building up there, and then it degenerates faster. So in the situation of our youth today, the fingers are definitely one. They're moving around here, but they're excessive movement. That's not natural. There's wear and tear happening at an unnatural pace because it's an unnatural movement. And then not moving and sitting like this is a totally unnatural movement. It inhibits the flow of the lymph. So then basically We're just walking detoxification centers, and all it sometimes requires is that we start moving. And I think we have to get that back, the motion, otherwise, and then the diet too, because then we're eating things that are not. If you study food science is about flavor, trying to get somebody to eat something they normally wouldn't eat. That's food science. So you go to these food science things, they put a whole bunch of chemicals that build up in your body. Then we take things in plastic all the time, and those forever chemicals are building up all over the body, inhibiting blood flow, inhibiting proper repair. So you got a whole bunch of assaults, not even talking about all the different signals that are constantly bombarding you, and everything is in a constant state of stress. That's not the conducive environment for healing. So there's so many factors, and I'm sure you could list a bunch more. Can you change that? Yeah, you can change that. Sometimes it's just getting outside, bare feet, motion, whatever, and it starts the lymphatic system flowing. You're cleansing yourself, and you'll see results just like that.
I think your point about how, I think the first thing that you said when we were coming in to talk about motion was, everybody already knows this, but I think it's so important to always remind people, because I'm going to say it from my own personal perspective here as well. So I have more of a sedentary job, and you forget about the importance of moving until you're injured, or you've gone in a direction where you're feeling inflamed. And I'm, fairly young and healthy and all of those things, but still with a sedentary lifestyle can still feel the effects of inflammation, water retention, lack of lymphatic flow. So all of those things are important for everyone to be reminded of, because it's so easy. It's so easy to do, simple as walking, stretching. We don't have to do like CrossFit and all the big things. We can do the simple day-to-day movements and have better longevity for future. And to your point about kids, I think it's really important that you brought that up, because that is exactly it. We're seeing a shift in where, kids used to have more physical activity in terms of school, but also sports at school, and that is becoming less and less, or they're not being pushed to that limit. I don't even know. I mean, I didn't like the beep test, but I don't know if that's even ran anymore for kids to push their endurance level to that. And I think about how beneficial, to your point, it could be for the long-term gain of body function, but also that idea of feeling the body under pressure and endurance and being capable of doing those things, and reminding kids they're capable of doing those things. So movement's big, huge.
And not to mention movement, just on top of this, if you're talking about mental health.
Yeah.
If you go to tons of therapy and do all these different things, and they say just moving for depression and anxiety is often far more effective than tons of therapy. Mm-hmm. So that's the kind of thing, our body is meant to move. When you move, you're flushing things out. They're not accumulating. It feels heavy and depressive. And then you get anxious because your body's going back and forth in these pendulums. So a lot of times we have the power to just move and start to find balance. And then that's where like in ancient times, they would talk about balance physically, balance energetically, and balance mentally. And that whole thing ties into something that's inseparable, which would be the spiritual type of aspect, whatever that means to different people, but where you feel fully centered and you don't feel all stressed all over the place, and you actually want to move. Mm-hmm. And like you said, it's not this intense motion. Sometimes that's actually problematic, they've found, right? It's more like just that nice, decent paced walking, or sometimes literally just getting out in nature, doing different tasks, but that barefoot thing on the earth, there's something to that the whole idea of connection, because stress and depression and addiction are tied to disconnection. The feeling of disconnection is the number one feeling. Just get outside in your bare feet. I mean, you guys got the snow. I mean, you can see
it's cold, but maybe we should still do it.
Right? It's still something, and it feels like you're connected and you're alive again. Like that cold thing, it's refreshing. But it refreshes your whole body and your mind, and then you feel like, hey, I can actually do this myself. I don't need all these other things going on. Then to account for certain things, you add, that's what we're talking about too, with supplementation, different things in your diet. Or don't say, well, they don't get it. How come they can do all that? Yeah, because we're all different. I mean, we have to realize that we're not all equal in that certain way. We're equal at a deep level, but in physically, mentally, energetically, we're different. We're born differently. So then take into account, like the ancients did, what's your constitution? What's your aptitude? What do you need to do to get rid of this arthritic or pain problem? And everybody's a little bit different, but there's certain things that will be obviously cohesive and always present. And that's where I feel like, yeah, Make it simple, and then we'll do it. If it doesn't feel simple, the mind will find a way
To
around
say
it.
no.
Just like meditation, same
Yep.
thing. The mind is your worst enemy. Say, no, this is too easy. It can't be that easy. Yeah, it actually can.
You just have to sit, be quiet,
That's right.
focus.
That's right.
That's all you got to do. That's it.
I can't do that. That's ridiculous.
I
You have to
know.
study it out.
It's so true. So I know
Yeah.
we were talking about motion, and I think to your point, that's one of the biggest factors here. But when somebody is, say, doing testing or even just starting to feel the congestion in their joints and the inflammation in their joints, or they've gone to the point where they've been diagnosed with osteoarthritis, is there ways in which we can slow that progression or support the body to repair the joint tissues? Or what is the next step for our listeners?
I think two huge things. There's obviously a lot of different things you can do. Like people do different things like yoga or swimming or different soothing motions on the joint, but also stretching motions to increase the flexibility and blood flow. And again, the drainage. If you say, I've got osteoarthritis, I can't move, and then you don't move, it makes it way worse. Sometimes I feel like sometimes the information and the advice given by certain health professionals is actually very problematic with heart and everything. But getting around that, obviously, we need to take care. But if we don't keep some type of flexion, so that's huge. And again, the bone can resorb. So say the bone is grown down in a joint to try to stabilize because it's a quick forming tissue as opposed to cartilage. But if you have proper motions, like in physio and chiropractic and massage, they teach you different things. So you get proper flow and you do it in a soothing fashion. Like I said, with yoga or swimming or things like soothing motions, the bone that has grown down can resorb or break down again while the other tissue is forming. So you actually can revert to a more healthy state with soothing kind of motion. So you still get blood flow and lymphatic drainage, but you're also then still keeping in motion. And then I think the other thing is diet is huge. You have to research that yourself because it's different aptitudes. Supplementation, I think at this time, especially with different age, or if you know you're going to keep doing something, you're not going to stop, it's critical. I don't think there's a way out of that. And traditional medicines from ancient times knew that. There were certain things that certain people would have to add, and then that would benefit them. And I think that's what gets into when you're talking about different joint-related or anti-inflammatory kind of natural compounds that you can add in simply that can make significant impact. Rather than, say, taking certain drugs that may mask the pain and the symptom, cause a whole bunch of other side effects, but actually cause further degradation because they're actually inhibiting healing. And so what we're trying to do is ancient ways, try to get the body back in order through balance of body, mind, energy, and then try to initiate certain compounds and movement, meditation, whatever, to move the body back into balance, more youthful. And it's not that difficult. And I think that's talking about a few key things have come out, even in the West, that are very, very powerful in the supplementation side that can assist you, even if you want to do yoga and things like that, because you know it's good for you, or meditation, but you can't even sit or you can't bend because you're in such pain. They can help you to get in the point where you can do those things too. So they all are working together. And I think people don't realize sometimes when they're not in the natural system yet, how powerful some of these things are because they've been suppressed for literally almost a couple hundred years, 100 and so years. And I've done podcasts myself on that, but it's just, that's all changing rapidly right now. Things are coming back again in a rapid fashion. And I feel like now's the time to start looking into things. And then you think, once you try them, you think, what? Why was I not told about this before? This is intense. So anyway, there's lots you can do, a lot. And I can attest to this. I literally walked, my back that was the angle that I used to walk for a year and a half. And now I walk completely straight, can lift, can do chainsawing, everything like that, no problem. And that was through supplementation. I was doing the exercise and everything, but I wasn't able to get to that certain point where I could get back. And all the spasm and everything that's associated with pain, because your body's trying to around it, because you freak out, like your knee, your back, whatever, is you have to relax that too, and also relax it mentally. They say 90% of pain is the spazzing around, thinking it's going to get worse. Like anybody with low back pain will know. You pushed yourself for a while, everything's fine, then all of a sudden it goes tweak, and then you go, like that. And so you can deal with that. That's where meditation, things like that, or being able to be calm. Supplementation also helps with that. to assist you to help to be more calm so you don't react as fast as you normally would. So anyways, everything's playing together. We've talked about this a lot
Yeah.
in previous ones, but
And it needs to be. You need a little bit of everything. Like you don't just develop any condition overnight doing one thing. It's really your whole lifestyle. The day-to-day habits that you have, all of those things that are what's deciding, what you're coming across in your future down the road, right? So when we talk about supplementation, Purica has an amazing product called Recovery, and I'm gonna assume you're gonna dive into what this product is, but this is a product I would say in Joanne's, we see so many people coming and looking for this product. We recommend this product. So let's dive into how this specific product can help with people who are considerate of potential onset of osteoarthritis, and then those who are also already struggling with osteoarthritis.
okay. But it's interesting backstory. Was never meant to be a product. Our family's never been in business, so it was meant to try to help ballet dancers in Europe, professional, to heal faster after they've been most typically a knee injury. So anterior cruciate ligament or median cruciate ligament tear. That's obviously a problematic thing, and it can end your career. So what I was trying to do with them is see, can you initiate healing so that you're more like a kid? Because a kid heals typically way better than an adult. Obviously, there's many reasons for that. But can you do that? And so what are the factors involved at the cell level? At the time, this is wordy, but I was studying the pathophysiological basis of connective tissue degradation and aging. So basically, what's happening to your connective tissues? Connective tissue, quick lesson, there's 4 tissues. There's nerve tissue, muscle tissue, epithelial or lining tissue, lining through your body, and connective tissue. Connective tissue is the most abundant tissue, and it's bigger than those other 3 combined. So it's super important, and it's throughout the entire system. It includes your immune system, it includes your joints, ligaments, tendons, soft tissue, all that kind of thing is involved with connective tissue. So my thinking was, back then, was not about arthritis or anything. It's okay, that is the tissue that is degrading over time that you associate with all the symptoms of age, like lack of flexibility, pain, inflammation, not getting as much energy to your muscles anymore because the sheathing that wraps around the nerve tissue is connective tissue, the myelin sheath. When that starts breaking down, it's kind of like copper wires that are breached in certain areas that are firing a light. If that happens, the light starts to flicker or it won't go on. It's kind of like you with all your muscles and organ tissues and everything, is when that's breaking down the connective tissue myelin sheath associated with aging or certain conditions, autoimmune conditions, you can't get the signal to the muscles, so you feel weaker. So which is less energy, and then you move less, so it's all tied together, right? So I was thinking, okay, how can you get all of that system working well? And I was only dealing with 20 to 30-year-old and some teens, so they're not that age, but still, they are already feeling the effects. They can't compete against 15, 16-year-old dancers that heal super fast. So can we alter that like a age-defying kind of supplement program? Again, not trying to find something to sell. And then started giving it to the dancers. And that was stuff I had brought from Canada, mixed with veterinary product at the time because it wasn't yet in the human side. And the results were profound. Then I came back to Canada and we just started using it on horses. So people thought it was a horse supplement because there was no regs right then to do that in Canada. And then the vets started telling everybody, because the results they saw were profound, horses they were going to put down. So this is what we were trying it on. You try it on a horse that is going to be euthanized and see what happens. So it's last thing, they'll try it because it's hard for anybody, any clinician, including ourselves, to switch to something that we're stuck on habitually. So this is a perfect opportunity. The horse is going to be put down. Can you help it? And right away, it was absolutely stunning what happened, turning right back. And so the vets started telling everybody to share the horse product with people, with dogs, with goats, with everything. Because everything was human pharmaceutical grade at the time, the way we manufactured, even airflow. And so that's how it happened. That's the birth story. But what happens with it is you're trying to not only inhibit the degradation of connective tissue, including cartilage and that in your joint for osteoarthritis, but also autoimmune, things like that. We're also trying to see, can you initiate the hormonal responses like insulin-like growth factors and growth hormone itself, that you're boosting the potential of the body to heal as if you were younger. And how would you do that when you're not getting the same output of growth hormone from the pituitary? That's by altering how a cell, the efficiency with which a cell does the dance. In other words, hormones are trying to integrate on levels of the cell at the membrane level. When you're young, try to imagine a catcher, because this is crucial to what recovery. So when a baseball catcher is young, they can move all over, catching all the balls. They can dive, and everything like that. But then they might have injured their shoulder, so it's stiff. Now they've got to try to use this hand instead, and everything becomes stiffer, and they're not as good at getting, so they do the best they can. That's happening inside our body, inside our joints, at the cell level. That's what I wanted to see. Can you alter? If you can embed certain polyphenolic compounds, like colorful compounds in certain foods, that has specifics to the cell membrane, can you make the membrane so that all those injuries get loosened up, and now every cell is like a young catcher that can catch everything? And when you do that, the cell membrane then is integrating with your hormones, which everybody's talking about now, about many things, weight and everything else, is they can do the dance. They can move. Your cell's constantly in motion, the membrane. It's not a static thing. The outer membrane is fluid. It's moving all over. That helps it do the dance and to integrate with hormones and everything else that you're receiving in different herbs and nutrients. Once it's more like a young catcher, then you feel more like a young catcher.
Yeah.
Not only you're more flexible and mobile, you're more energetic and more confident. Because when you feel that you can move, also mentally, when you can be flexible and pliable mentally, energetically, physically, you feel more confident, which comes out in many, many ways. So what I'm talking about is overall wellness, where you actually feel well. It's not just that you're getting out of pain. Something's happening at a deeper level. So that's what I was going for with the dancers, to get out of the habitual side, get more confident so they could dance like a young 15-year-old again, even if they'd been injured, even after they had surgery for ACL, MCL. And again, the results were profound, then moved back. That's when we started this. It's the idea, can you turn back the clock? I'm not talking about making somebody live longer. I have no idea with that. What I'm saying is make the cells behave like they are young. How do you see that? What I said, if you're talking about arthritis, well, obviously you feel decrease in pain and the spasm and the inflammation associated with that. But you also feel then mentally and energetically different, where you feel like you can do all sorts of things. Not just because you're out of pain. Because watch, if you have an animal yourself and you take aspirin or Tylenol or whatever, or a narcotic, you don't feel young again.
No.
You just feel like, okay, dang it, now I'm not in pain. But you don't feel, Whereas if you watch animals on recovery, this is the perfect site, because about 30-something% of our company is veterinary side. So we make recovery for dogs and horses and all large animals and small animals, from Siamese fighting fish all the way to elephants, even whales have taken recovery. So you think, okay, if recovery works on them, there's no placebo. That's where you show, okay, the effects with it are animals that would have been euthanized because nothing works. When they did trials with the horse side, when nothing worked, no other product, joint injections with synovial fluid didn't work, recovery still had 80 to 100% recovery on every single horse in 3 to 5 weeks. So it's like a stunning thing that happens. Why is that? Because it's not just about trying to relieve pain. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to make the cells behave like they're younger. Then you see all sorts of benefits that you would never, ever expect with your gastrointestinal tract. If you have a whole bunch of problems, inflammation there, or breathing issues, same, inflammatory load on the mucosa, genitourinary tract, for instance, people taking recovery that have had chronic yeast infections and nothing works, including medical doctors, Chinese medicine doctors. Then they try recovery for their knees or something, including one of my teachers when I was in clinic. She tried it. She was a medical doctor and TCM doctor. She had constant hip and knee pain. She took the recovery, called me, said, "Are you going to be in town?" I said, I'm not. It took me a year to get there. She said in 2 months, she got rid of this pain. And she had a lot of extra weight that she was carrying on and still got rid of all the pain, and she could move again, hips and knees. But she said in the first month, it got rid of her yeast infection, which she didn't even expect at all. She says, "Is that normal?" For 10 years, she'd been struggling with chronic yeast infection. But it is because recovery works on the mucosal level and the epithelial tissue, not just connective tissue.
Right.
And it has a die-off effect of different things and a restructuring of the mucosal layer, which is like a moat inside your body to keep things out. So here's another thing that people don't necessarily think of is say, and we've talked about this before, is you have inside, from the mouth to the rectum is the tube that runs through you. Inside that tube is technically part of the outside body, just like a hose. That hose, if you take the water out, the inside air is still part of the outside. Yeah, there's going to be crud, it's going to be hard things inside there, just like us. So all that area, the moat that surrounds the tissue keeps things out that you don't want to get in. If they get into your bloodstream, that's when they're part of your body. Then your body can react to them with inflammatory, with like Pac-Man, release chemicals and everything that cause inflammation and damage. Where is that typically going to make you feel? Is where you already have a problem. Because again, there's that lowered circulation, things accumulate. All those compounds your immune system is using to target things to get into your body are going to hit you at that level. So again, that's going to cause a problem with accelerated degeneration, more arthritic conditions. We're talking about arthritis, but also everywhere in your body. And when you have that going on, when things are getting in your body that shouldn't, you feel way less energy because your immune system's using up your energy. So recovery is designed to restructure all of those internal tracks to keep things out that shouldn't get in. What do you feel? Same with animals. They act like they're young again. You feel like you're younger again. I know it for a fact. I've been using this for 30 years. My dad integrated with recovery. He was told he had 7 years to live, maximum. If he did everything right, he was on 8 cardio drugs. So calcium channel blockers, beta blockers, HMG coenzyme reductase inhibitors, the statins, ACE inhibitors, potassium-sparing diuretics, nitro, baby aspirin. I mean, list goes on. And you're not supposed to integrate. So I wanted to help my dad. That was a big factor in recovery, is what can he do to take with his drugs? And so he integrated that with all his drugs.
Wow.
And this is hard because they try to restrict you from what you can say. But this is my dad. So my dad, not only he had 6 bypasses. This is why it happened. 6 bypasses, a heart attack on the table, defibrillator pacemaker installed, stents put in, and then he gave him 7 years to live. So that's when I really worked hard in trying to bring together recovery to make his body react like it's young, but also some things that he'd be putting with all those drugs. Those are dangerous drugs to integrate with. And it's my dad, so I'm going to say the story, gave it to him. He is considered a miracle of modern medicine. The Texas company who makes the defibrillator pacemaker, they had to replace 2 of them because the batteries die. So he was on his 3rd one. They've never had to do that before. Because he lived 31 years instead of 7 max. His mind was still fully there, and he didn't die of a heart attack in the end. It was a stroke from other medications that they gave him. So I'm saying, integrating with that, my dad lived all that time, and mentally and physically feeling good. So I feel like, okay, when you have that kind of power, why doesn't everybody know about that? That's a whole nother story with the suppression, but the suppression mechanisms are falling all over the world with so many different things. Healthcare is one of them. There's going to be like 2 different sectors. So if you want to find out, there's a lot of power, as you know, a lot of power in this industry.
There is.
And and some of it's way more powerful than the drugs, way more, even for symptoms. So what are we doing? Well, we're finding out. It's like a revival kind of idea. You're figuring out things that people have been wanting to say all this time or trying to keep alive. And now it's actually not just alive, it's starting to thrive, but it's still a groundswell, and the other systems are trying to suppress it, but it's not working. So basically, it feels like a secret to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And it's exciting. And I love that, being part of this time right now, because it is exciting to see people find out how strong some of these things are that they thought was hopeless. With conditions like cancer and all the rest of the things, hopeless. No, not hopeless at all. So this is recovery. I know this is long-winded, but I feel like
it's okay.
It was designed to help you restore function physically, that stress is taken away, that mechanical injury is taken away, that use of a whole bunch of drugs to treat that have caused further degradation, and to get everything functioning as if you were more youthful, but you actually feel it mentally, not just physically. That's what recovery was designed to do. And nutshell, physically restore what stress and aging and damage has taken away from you. That's a simple way to say recovery, and integrating it my dad did with all his drugs. So you can't say that. I can't promote it for that, but I'm just saying that was my dad. That's the story. He did it for 31 years at high dose. He took 3 teaspoons a day of recovery. You can take capsules too, with all of those different drugs, and he was thriving. And right till the end. Kind of like when you have same as with people that have animals. When they see their dog is struggling and it's near the end, and then they give it recovery, and it's like unbelievable what it does, that it restored that pet for the pet itself, but also for them to feel like it's not struggling and suffering. Mm-hmm. Or it was something that they thought it's near the end, but it wasn't really. It was just some kind of pain that caused it to lose all its energy, and it's depressed and everything. Now it's back moving again. So you can't trick an animal again. What's going on?
Yeah.
It's deep. Yeah. That was it.
I think that was great. I have so many points. I'm trying to remember all of them. I think your point about where our industry is going and the curiosity of people, and also trusting their own mind and their own decision. Like, I agree. I'm really happy to be part of what this next generation is going to be integrated into health and wellness, but I also see an integration of both sides coming to play. I think I see more and more practitioners working together, which is so nice to see. Yeah. So I love how that's evolving for us, for sure. And with the recovery, fantastic product. It checks every single box. So I've got to ask, the difference between this amazing product and the next level of this product, which is Recovery 3.0, why did you create the next level up of something that is already doing amazing things for people?
I think for me it was more, we'd always said that we'd do something if it came out. The 3.0 doesn't replace the recovery, but what it does is it makes it easier to focus just on inflammation and pain. Because a lot of mainstreamers or people don't want to take so many capsules or powder. They just want drug-like effects. I want it really quickly. I don't want to take a whole bunch of pills. That's what Recovery 3.0 brought in. It's focused on pain and inflammation, and it works really fast. The interesting thing about this one is that just like recovery over time changes your skin, your hair, your nails, your eyes. You can't miss it. It's so easy. Your nails, how often you have to cut them, it's so easy. You know when. Mm-hmm. It's a dramatic shift in that. So anyway, and your gut feels different. Everything, it's just a different thing, right? Recovery 3.0 is more, okay, if you just have a person, I don't care about all that stuff, or they don't even believe in all that stuff. They just want pain relief. That's 3.0.
Okay. It's
basically 4 caps a day, but it also has an added thing in there that helps you to water off a duck's back.
Okay.
Not a big deal, right? So there's a bit of stress relieving in that, where you feel mentally, energetically, less stressed or less reactive to something. Because stress is not, so it's interesting, stress is associated with uncertainty. So if you feel comfortable with uncertainty, then you don't feel stress. If you don't feel comfortable with uncertainty, which is most people, that you will have a reaction which actually is about breaking your body down to create energy to fight or run. So we've gotten this before. Even if it's just like an opinion or whatever, that's going to break your body down and age you. So in this product, because that's so prevalent now, because everything's so frenetic all over the place, and your body's and your mind and your energy are paying for that, is we added that to their 3.0 as something to help you quickly. So that it's basically this product that if you want to segue for anyone into the industry, it's super powerful and it will blow your mind. And then you say, you know what? I wanted other things to feel younger and all these things. Then you might want to shift then to recovery. You can take them both together, but there's some redundancy and overlap. Then you shift to recovery, and then you see all these other benefits start coming that you thought, there's no way I can change that. It's just part of aging. But it's not. Like things like gastroesophageal reflux and heartburn and constipation, loose stool, all those things that you think are just part of whatever I have to deal with, or even sleep issues. That's more recovery. So Recovery 3.0 is quick, low caps, strong results, and kind of helps you get into like, okay, I have confidence now in this industry. If that's available, what else do we have in this industry? You know, that's why we created it. It's kind of like, I want to blow your minds quick. Recovery was just about what can you do to turn back the clock in so many functions? So that's where it comes in. That's the kind of different. It's hard to differentiate, but
Oh, that was
that's
good.
kind of
I think that's a great differentiation between the two, and they, work really. Like you don't have to take them together, but you can move from one to the other. So I like that. And then
yeah.
another point, I want to just lastly talk about the pet formulas. So as you said, like this has been tested, this is not placebo. We're seeing amazing results. And I want to share my dog also takes recovery, and it has been amazing for joint health, for her hind legs. We thought we were going to have to do an ACL surgery. It's been amazing to help with her aging process as well. So for me, it was the joint pain, stiffness, the slow moving that happened, that made us think, okay, we need to do something else. But if we don't always see those leg or joint issues with, say, dogs, I think bigger dogs hide things more better, I guess, than other dogs, smaller dogs, or cats, or whatever the other animal is. So what are we looking for when we're thinking about our pets? Because they obviously can't tell us. What are we looking for?
So you know how you have, because they are great at hiding it. It's amazing. You look for just changes in their disposition that you don't think is a big deal, but it's consistent, or they don't want to be touched, or they don't want to sit with you anymore. So if you have changes in the coat,
Yeah.
or if they have changes in the mucosal cavity in the mouth, where there's obviously pain, they're not eating the same, all those things can benefit from the use of recovery. So if you integrate recovery, say because you notice something in their paw, or it's an obvious thing, a limp or whatever, and then you notice that the dog's moving more and going all over, it's because they're so, like you said, they're hiding in so many areas. In their back end, in a joint, they're very good at doing that. Once they see a difference, and then you see it in a difference in their coat. So this is a common thing with recovery with any animal, is that has fur, or even feathers, the birds, because we give it to bird rescues too, is that they're growing their coat back. The patchiness or whatever, or the dryness, it's changing the quality of the hair. Why is that? Because it's changing the skin quality. It's embedding all over the body, the recovery. It wasn't meant to just focus on one thing. It was never focused on joint pain. It was to turn back the clock somewhat so that all the cells are functioning differently. You're going to see that broad spectrum. And that's not some kind of, well, how could it do that? It's a normal thing in ancient medicine. When you got someone imbalanced, so many other things happen. So animals, you're looking for sometimes simple changes in their disposition, which could mean that they're in some type of pain. And it's affecting them, and they're trying their best to accommodate, and they're less affectionate, things like that. You'll see total changes. One fella, he saw what it did to his horse. This is 25 years ago. And he's really one of those guys that, and I went up and I knew what it did to the horse. They were going to put down the horse. And now the horse was chasing all the other animals, all the other horses away from the food. Wow. And it was because it used to be like that. It was kind of a cantankerous horse, and now it's, again, and he loved the horse. It was a rescue. It had been beaten and everything, right? So then I saw him, and I walked towards him, and I said, so how's it going with the horse? He said, oh my God, this is a couple months later. Unbelievable. It's just like a 1-year-old again, something like that. And then I said, anything else that you've seen? And then I saw his eyes glass over, one of those guy, and his throat went, and then he turned around and walked away, and his wife was there, and she's walking towards me, and I said, what? And I said, what is going on? She said, well, you said that it works on any species. Even vets were giving it to betta fish, right? To increase coloration, scalation, survival in breeders. Anyway, I thought that was crazy. So he said, so he tried it on a dog. And I guess the dog had been watching with him his whole life Sunday Night Football. And it would sit up on his lap. And for the last couple of years, the arthritis got so bad that it just sat beside him, watched football. And then he gave it recovery. It's moving around better, she said. But then it actually jumped up on his lap again and watched football with him on his lap. So it's extremely emotional. And it made me feel like, what have we got into? I never intended for it to be a business or a product or anything. I just thought I was going to be consulting back end, giving things to help people and animals. And it turned into something like that was super emotional. And that's what it's been the whole time for our company. And we're gone to an even bigger shift now, where our family took on the whole thing. It's just, the stories are emotional with animals and people. I had a woman, she came up to me where I live. I didn't know her, and she stopped me as I was walking. And she said, are you Jason I can't remember, the designer of recovery or something like that. And I said, oh, I didn't know. I said, well, no, yeah. I said, we're with Purica and the eye design. And she said, you look in the back. And there was this dog, beautiful older dog. And she said, that dog, I can't remember, she said 3 or 4 years ago, we were going to have to put the dog down. And then we started giving it the recovery. I can't thank you enough. She started crying in front of me, and the dog's looking at me in the
Oh
window.
my
It was like one of
goodness.
those moments to think, okay, I love what I'm doing for my livelihood.
Yep.
And I feel like that's huge in your life. And everyone on the team at Purica, like the way that we function together as a company, as a unit, now it's just become such a family feel. And the stories are what people want to hear. They don't want to hear all it's stories. And the stories with recovery would blow your mind. People and animals would blow your mind. My dad used to say that all the time when he was using it. That and then the doctors would invite me into the office and ask me what to do, and they'd even one doctor he'd say, what is this supplement good, because he wanted to take, not allowed to promote it, but he
Right.
wanted to take it for himself. Is this good, is this good, is this good? I had a meeting just with them just about that. So I feel like you said, when doctors get involved, like functional medicine doctors and other doctors, when they open up to the idea that they weren't trained in nutrition or supplementation at all, they were taught to just poo-poo it and it's all snake oil and all that stuff. Now they're realizing that they were lied to. And some of them are really coming on board saying, what else can we do? They know all the side effects, all the drugs and everything. They know the conflicts of interest in medicine and journals and everything are all coming out in a big way. So what can I do? And now they're getting exposed too. So I feel like there's hopefulness there too. More than just hopefulness, because it's already happening. You
Yeah.
just watch them and think, what? This is that powerful? And especially when you have a rheumatologist, especially rheumatologists, dealing with people when they have really severe drug classes, like corticosteroids, which cause you to age faster in animals, cortisone, prednisone, dexamethasone, or you have DMARDs, disease-modifying antirheumatic drugs like penicillamine or methotrexate or things like that, or biologics like Remicade or tumor necrosis factor inhibitors. All those drugs have major side effects and are sometimes totally intolerable. No rheumatologist likes to put you on those, but they feel that's their only repertoire. For them to then become cognizant of the fact that there was things available all this time that work better than all the drugs is kind of like, what? It's disheartening, but at the same time, it's hope. There's hope
There's
in
hope.
there.
Yeah.
It's like, so I feel like, okay, they're getting on board. It's a slow process that's going to accelerate really quick. We just keep talking about it. And
Yeah.
I think that recovery, to me, the classic recovery, I have never in this whole industry seen a product that can do what it can do. I know it's our company because it wasn't ever developed to be a product, I think we didn't cut any corners or try to figure out margins or anything, or it's about a business making money. It was all about how do I make the best thing possible. It took 6 years to do it. There was 6 years of trial and error with all these dancers and animals to perfect what we have. And I don't think that it's literally unbelievable, but people have to witness for themselves. The proof's in the pudding, so to speak. And that's all I'm saying. I'm talking. I always say this, same as you when we talk. But it's if I can inspire someone to try anything in this industry that's worthy of trying, I just hope that that's what I can do, even if it's not our products. I just feel like there's so much hope for people. It's beyond hope, and that you'll feel inspired and you'll feel confident again, that you're not falling apart, you're not disconnected, you can handle all the stuff coming at you if you learn to back off. But sometimes first we have to deal with the physical stuff before we learn to mentally back off of something
It's
and to
so
let go.
true.
So I feel like it's part of the whole picture. And I want everybody to know that our vision as a company and everything we stand for is part of a picture about overall wellness. And a lot of those things are free, and we want to share all that, but we want to produce things that will help and assist you in that whole process of re-empowering yourself, because we've been so disempowered for so long to trust experts and authority figures for everything when a lot of it's been here all along, right here. So that's what I feel like recovery does. It provides a really powerful insight into ancient medicines, their capacity to institute total wellness. And then you take charge of it back yourself and start doing the things that you know that are helpful. And then it's a process that just keeps getting better and better, no matter what your age. And it's pretty remarkable, I think.
And then it ripples through the people that are around you, or you can then pass that experience, your story or your education onto other people. And that's the other part of this industry I think that's so cool, is that we see that happen. People telling their stories, sharing their experiences, even if it's like their experiences of taking XYZ drugs, what they're doing now. Like, people are very invested in telling their story, and I think it's so important because there's so many stories to be heard and told, and it's amazing. So in regards to recovery, I want to say thank you for creating such a product that has so many benefits for so many different people. And for our listeners, I hope out of all of those things that we talked about, one of them resonates with you. And if you want to ask more about that, there's a few ways you can learn more about recovery. One, you can come into Joanne's place, talk to our team, see the product on shelf. But two, in the description below, I will also link the Purica website, where they have so much information that's accessible for you to learn about, and to learn more about their products as well too. And then also understand the different formulas between the Recovery 3.0, and then also learn about how you can support your pets as well too. Well, Jason, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day today to be on our podcast again. It's always such a pleasure to have these deep conversations with you and to share your passion, your true passion for this industry with our listeners and our community. So thank you so much.
Thanks for inviting me, man. You're really easy to talk to, Annie, so it's a pleasure to be on every time. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's episode of the Wellness on Purpose podcast. If this episode supported you, share it with someone who could use a little more wellness in their life. Also, please be sure to visit us in person at Joanne's Place Health Food Store in Peterborough and Lindsay, Ontario, and connect with our amazing team to learn more about the topics discussed in this podcast, as well as the products featured. You can also pop on and visit our website for more wellness inspiration and resources to support your wellness journey. Thanks again, and until next time, stay intentional, stay curious, and live wellness on purpose now.